Welcome back, everyone. In the last video, we learned about signing in with our Google pop-up. We also learned about how to store that Google user inside of our Firestore database. In this video, we are going to learn about other authentication methods that we get provided from Google, also through Firebase though, which is signing in with a redirect, and how now that we've set up all this code, it pretty much works for any authentication method. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go into this collection. You'll notice that I've already deleted my collection. And the reason for that is because I want to make sure to show you that once the same user signs in but with a different redirect method, it is still going to generate and create the same document. As well, I've also removed the user from my authentication. So you can do that yourself. You can also just watch me do it. Really, it's pretty simple. But now that I've deleted these, what I'm going to do is I want to go back into this application. And you'll notice that up here inside of Firebase Utils, I also imported sign in with a redirect. So now we're going to use it. And it's very simple. In order to use it, instead of here where we export this const sign in with Google, I want to do sign in with Google redirect. And it's going to be the same. It's just going to be an anonymous function that calls the sign in with redirect. And I'm going to pass it the auth, and I'm also going to pass it the provider. So here, one important thing I want you to notice. Notice how with these sign in with pop-up and sign in with redirects, these are general, and they take an auth, and they take a provider. I'm calling mine sign in with Google pop-up and sign in with Google redirect. The reason for this, as I mentioned earlier, is because there are different providers you can have. Whether you want to sign in with Facebook, whether you want to sign in with GitHub, these are all different providers that you can pull in. So here, if we look, there's probably a Facebook auth provider. And just like with Google provider, you can generate a new provider and pass that in, and now you have another sign-in method available. This is why these providers are instantiated as classes, as I mentioned before, whereas these auths are not. So this is an important thing to notice because here I'm essentially saying I know that this pop-up is going to be Google because the provider I'm generating for it is a Google provider. If we want to be more explicit, we could say Google provider like so, and we could modify it like so as well. This way, it's just more clear if we wanted our code to be like this. So let's just do this just so that we understand at the very least that there's multiple different providers available. But once we have this set up, I want to show you this redirect now. So I'm going to copy this sign in with Google redirect. I'm going to go into my sign in component, and I'm also going to import in sign in with Google redirect. And here, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this button code. And here I'm going to say sign in with Google redirect. One thing though that we're going to have to change is this on click, and we're going to have to change it in more ways than one. But to show you why, what I'm going to do is I'm first going to just run const log Google redirect user. And let's get rid of this right here. Instead of sign in with Google pop-up, I want sign in with Google redirect. And I'm just going to console.log here, the user. And then I'm going to put this into the on click so you can see what's going to happen. So we're going to save this and we're going to go into our application. Here, what we're going to do now is click this sign in with Google redirect. What happens is that this will now take us into this separate page where we're asked to sign in with Google. Very similar to the pop-up, except it's a separate page. I'm going to click this user. What's going to happen is it's going to take us back to our website. But what you'll notice is that my user is not getting console logged. And if we go into this application, what we will see is the user is indeed now inside of my authentication. However, any code that subsequently followed actually signing in the user with the redirect is not actually triggering. Why is this happening? Well, if you think about it, what did happen just now was that our website redirected us entirely to a new separate domain. When we came back, our website does not know that there was some previous instant of state of this website that we were being paused for. The web doesn't work like that. When you navigate away from a URL, the website thinks, oh, okay, I'm going to get rid of everything. I'm going to unmount the entire application. We're done now. Why would I hold on to it? I don't know if you're going to come back or not. So what happened is when we came back, we essentially reinitialized our entire application from the start, from scratch, meaning that any previously held functions that we were perhaps in the middle of doesn't matter anymore. There's no way to continue from there. For that reason, we need to use a different way in order to actually track this type of information. So what we're going to do, and I'll show you, is that first we're going to need to import a few things. We need to import useEffect from React. We also need to import a method from Firebase auth. And this method is called getRedirectResult, this one right here. And then inside of our utils, we'll also need to make sure that we bring in our auth, because that's what the getRedirectResult is going to get. Finally, what we need to do is I'm just going to, instead of doing this log Google redirect user, I'm just going to directly call the sign in with Google redirect. Because as we know, that function we had before was doing nothing for us after this method internally called the sign in with redirect method already. Once that's called, the application, once we navigate away, again, unmounts. So now what we're saying is that inside of this code, I want to run a useEffect. And I want to run this when this application mounts. So when the sign-in component mounts for the first time. Remember, when you pass an empty array, it means that run this function once when this component mounts for the first time. The function here being our callback. Inside, I want to call getRedirectResult. GetRedirectResult, I'm going to pass it an auth. And because this is an asynchronous method, getting the redirect result is asynchronous, I'm going to say const response is equal to await getRedirectResult. And then I'm going to console log the response. And now I want to save this code. So what's happening now is that essentially we're going to sign in with the Google redirect. It's then going to take us to that page where we're going to choose our Google user. When we come back, what's going to happen is our application is going to remount, meaning this sign-in component will remount because we're coming back to the sign-in page where the sign-in component is. On mount, this useEffect will run this callback once on the mounting. And then what's going to happen is that inside this callback, we're going to say, hey, get me the response for the redirect that just happened. How do you know what redirect happened? Well, it's based on the auth. And this is why this auth is a singleton, because this auth is helping us keep track of all these authentication states that are happening throughout the application. You can kind of see this as if some kind of authentication memory bank is tracking all of our authentication states for our website and for our Firebase instance, regardless of where the website is going. So this is why this is so useful. So now that we have our code, if we go back to our application, we see that on initial mount, this value we get back from that getRedirectUser user is null. The reason, of course, is because our application refreshed. There was no redirect that happened. So we expect this to be null. This is good. But now if we click sign in with Google redirect, and inside we choose our Google user, once we come back, our application remounts, sign-in component remounts, runs our initial effect. And here now we see we do indeed get back a response. And on it in the response, we have our user with our UID and all the relevant information we need in order to create that profile document now. So now that we have this, let's actually continue with what we had before, which is where we created this user doc reference. And here we can just say if response, meaning that it's not null and we get something back, because we saw that there's a chance when we mount, we haven't come from a redirect, maybe it's null. Then we can say, oh, now I want you to create this from response.user. So here now, we're doing the same thing we had before, which is saying that if response is not null and it is indeed an object, then I want you to generate the doc reference. So if we come back now and we refresh, we notice now if we sign in with Google redirect and then we click our user, we sign in with our user, we come back here, everything mounts. Of course, we don't log anything, but if we go to our Firebase console, we open our database, we should see our user. So there we go. Everything here is working as expected. So this is just to show you a different way that you can utilize different sign-in methods. We have sign-in with Google Redirect, sign-in with pop-up, and also in the Firebase utils, the main thing I wanted you to know was that there are multiple ways that you can provide different providers. Google Auth is just one of them. And this is what I was saying earlier when I mentioned that there's a reason why this one is a class and these others are instances. We just saw the reason why. As we saw with this get redirect result, the auth is a singleton because it keeps track of the authentication state of the entire application. As the user signs in through different means and methods, we need some way to be certain of what it is that the user has done, especially in the framework of this browser, where whenever you navigate away from your website, you are breaking the instance of the website now. So this auth is the only way we can keep track of whether or not users are properly authenticating or not. And that's what's great about this service of Firebase. As long as you follow the patterns that it provides, it kind of circumvents a lot of these different issues that are present. But here, now that we've set this up, I'm going to get rid of this because we don't really need it anymore. It was really just to show you this pattern. And I know there's a lot of complexity in this pattern. We learned about effects, setting things up, but hopefully the logic all made sense for you. But I'm just going to get rid of this because I just want to keep the sign in method. This is really just kind of a sidebar for us to learn more about Firebase's methods as well as the authentication. So now that we're back to this, let's continue with the next lesson.